We're back, people, and today we're breaking down film on Tua Tagovailoa, Miami Dolphins quarterback. Obviously, I'm a big fan of his game. I think he's a good NFL quarterback. I think he proved that this past season. Obviously, there were some ups, some downs. I don't think he's elite. I know people think that I think he's elite, and always try to say that I'm biased. It's always the comments in my Tua videos. But I'm going to show the film, show why I think he's a good NFL quarterback, why I think he deserves to start in 2023. Obviously, the health stuff needs to check out, but the play on the field was overall pretty dang good from my perspective, at least. He does a lot of things well. In the video, I'm going to break down what his biggest strengths are, and then I'll show off some of his weaknesses and things that he can work on later on in this video. But his accuracy, his anticipation, just the timing of the offense, you can just see how much better the offense functions when he was under quarterback, under center, because everything was timing, getting the ball out, and he was super efficient on the season. So let's get right into this one. This was probably his best deep throw of the year, just hitting Waddle in stride. And this is a 3rd and 22 situation. Like, he recognizes the split field safety look, like pre-snap. They're showing a single high look. He's reading him and watching the safety go to the deep half over here. So he identifies cover 2, and he's just staring this deep half safety down, manipulating, holding him with his eyes, and then comes back. Perfect timing, releases this as Waddle's breaking back to the inside and drops an absolute dime into the bucket. Like, Waddle didn't have to slow down at all. This is just an absolute beautiful throw on a 3rd and 22 situation. And I know some people just think he can't throw a deep ball, but he actually throws pretty accurate deep balls. More deep balls have to do less with arm strength and more with touch, timing, accuracy. As long as you can throw the ball, 40 plus yards in the air, which pretty much every NFL quarterback can do. Honestly, these types of plays are my favorite from Tua. Just look how smooth this looks. The manipulation with the eyes, like, this might seem routine to you, but when you're just really looking at the nuance of the play, the little things. First of all, love the horizontal stretch, getting Sherfield in motion out here, and then hitting, more of a vertical stretch over the middle of the field. This is where it allows Tua to manipulate with his eyes. He snaps his eyes. It's tied with his feet. Everything is connected here. This is just like beautiful art to watch. If you enjoy watching quarterback play, everything about it. And then he just snaps back to the middle. Still moving this linebacker with his eyes. Look at the anticipation of when he lets this ball go, where Waddle is. Like, high level stuff, hits him in stride over the middle of the field. You can just see him how he has the effect on these linebackers. He was other than probably the Niners and the Chargers game, he was putting those poor linebackers to work all season long with his eyes. Just probably definitely his biggest strength, in my opinion, is his eyes and how he's able to manipulate. He even uses his body here, giving him a little bit of no look. Just look at where his shoulders are pointing to. When he releases it, he's going to complete this over here, and his shoulders are pointed to the other side of 53. That's why he's going to the outside, even when the ball's released back to his inside shoulder. That's almost like working a no-look pass right there from Tua. This throw right here from Tua against the Bills down in the red zone was probably the ball that I saw him get the most velocity on all season long. Obviously, arm strength will always be a discussion when it comes to Tua. I always think arm strength is a little bit overrated of a trait that you look for in a quarterback. I'd rather just have them be accurate, see things, process the defense. Those things are much more important to me than having a super strong arm if you can't see the defense well. But right here, he just rips this ball in here. I think the decisiveness was his biggest growing point this season. Like, last season, rookie season, he had times where he would hit his back foot and just be afraid to just rip these ball into the tight window. But right here, look, and he's getting ready to prepare this throw. He throws this right here to Craycraft. He's preparing this throw. Craycraft is not even broken yet. The Bills are running cover 6, and he is just deciding he's going to rip this ball in there. This is also a problem he could have, is sometimes he trusted this offense so much that he would just throw the ball without trying to read too much. He definitely improved his processing and going through his progressions this season compared to last season's. But I think an issue he did get in trouble with was just trusting the scheme so much. He would just hit his back foot and just rip that ball. But I mean, this is as good as an accurate, high velocity ball that you can have. When you try to put, like, this is the highest velocity ball you'll see with him all season long. But usually when a quarterback ups the velocity, sometimes the accuracy, you sacrifice a little bit of it to throw the hard ball, but it just hits Craycraft in between the numbers of a quarters to that side of the field, 2 safeties right there, a safety in a corner, and throws do not get much better than that. A pretty nice high-level throw by Tua here against cover 2. You can tell he's just using his eyes here to manipulate, but really he just reads Minka because pre-snap it looks like they could rotate down into a cover 3. It just looks like that's what they were showing here. But once Minka starts to gain depth here and he's not robbing, he is just reading 39 here. He sees how much depth he has to this side, and he knows he's going to have this seam bender back to the middle over here. So he's just holding Minka with his eyes, snaps his eyes back, and then throws this ball with really nice placement, puts it away from the safety, and allows Sherfield to come back towards it. Really high-level, accurate throw down the field. You get a 32-yard gain. He was making, this was sort of his bread and butter all year long, these 10 to like 20-yard throws down the middle of the field. He was probably the best quarterback in the NFL, like stat-wise, in this area. And people always say he would manipulate with his eyes too much and not really read a defense. That was like one of the criticisms I saw this season, which is a weird criticism because you go through, watch quarterback film. This is high-level stuff to manipulate with your eyes like this as often as Tua does. Like, he's come to this to the league and has done it at a high level very quickly. It's something that should not really be criticized. It's not something 90% of quarterbacks really do in the NFL. So Tua, one of those, 10% of the quarterbacks that makes plays like this. And it's really enjoyable to watch his eyes and how he uses them mid-game to manipulate defenses. And then everything in rhythm, snap back, throw the ball accurately over the middle of the field pretty consistently. This is one of Tua's best examples of going through a pure progression all season long. This was versus the Lions, the touchdown to Gesicki, and this was his 4th read because McDaniel said it after the game. He got to his 4th read here, and he's not just manipulating with his eyes on this one. You can tell. He first comes off the ball. He recognizes the middle of the field safety. He tries to maybe go to his one-on-one matchup here to the backside. Doesn't like what he sees, so he comes back here to Tyreek. Sees that this linebacker is taking away this leverage of this. Then come back, possibly hit Waddle here, but he throws it over the top with anticipation to Gesicki, and then puts this with nice ball placement. And for Gesicki to be his 4th read here and still throw the ball with pretty good timing and anticipation is very impressive. He gets in between the middle of the field safety and the deep third corner over here, and he puts the ball sort of low, doesn't lead him out towards this corner, puts it on his back shoulder right there. So nice ball placement, protects him as well. You can just see, looking at it from this angle, how active his eyes are. He starts off by reading, the safety here. Come here to the middle of the field. Back to Tyreek, over the top to Gesicki, just very quickly going through his progression, special stuff. And when you're down in the red zone like this, everything has to speed up to another level, and Tua did it right there. I know plays like this might not seem like much, just a standard play action, hit a player out of the middle of the field, but you see a lot of quarterbacks struggle with this. Coming out of the play action, timing, I just feel like Tua is one of those guys who's people are hyper critical of. Like every play gets scrutinized very highly just because of who he was coming out of college. I think some Dolphins fans think you got to be playing like Patrick Mahomes to be a good NFL quarterback. Because, Tua is obviously not at that level. But he does a lot of the little things well. This is like really high-level quarterback play, the play action, and he hits his back foot. Look how quickly he snaps that head around out of the play action, and he recognizes this hole is opening up. He sees 44 right here, and this is a really nice placed ball to get it in between the linebackers. Like you see where Tyreek, he might have caught it behind him, but if he leads him, he throws him into the safety and possibly gives 44 a chance to make a play on it. He just throws these with such great timing. As soon as his back foot hits, the timing, everything is just so beautifully clean with this. This was the difference in the offense when he wasn't in the game. You would see these over the middle of the field concepts just stopped working. The timing was off. Like they would complete, this play would be complete 10 plus time with Tua in a game, and then with the other quarterbacks in, you might see it complete like once or twice throughout the game. The RPO king, probably where Tua is at his best on these RPO concepts. This is the only one that I put in here because there were so many, and this was just my favorite one with the ball placement of it, and it's this concept that I've broken down on this channel probably 100 times this season because I've ran this play so much. But just here, look at him reading 44 right here. He thinks he gets sucked in just enough, but they've ran this already multiple times against Rodriguez, and he gets out this time. And look at this ball placement to Waddle. It is barely over the outstretched hand, and then throws it low and away to protect him from getting hit from the corner on the outside. You can see this ball just barely sneak past the hand right there on this back shoulder of Waddle. Great adjustment to slow it down. You got to be on the same page with your receivers on this. That was sort of an issue because this offense is so timing based, everything being anticipated. When you're throwing with a bunch of anticipation, obviously it's very impressive, but if you and your receivers are not on the same page, down to the millisecond of plays with timing, things are going to be off, and then that will make things look worse than they actually were, either from the quarterback's perspective or a receiver perspective. So you just, working on those timings, getting that chemistry down with everyone. It's hard to, do that stuff on a consistent play-by-play basis, but obviously it worked out for the most part, but there was some little inconsistency there throughout the season with Tua and the receivers, but it got even worse with the other quarterbacks in the game. Tua's worst games on the season were versus the Niners and the Chargers. It's where he struggled the most, and I think in those games, there was less separation. The defense did a really good job of taking away the middle of the field, gaining depth with their linebackers, and I think it just showed Tua's weakness where he would try to trust the offensive scheme too much. His first read, once he was always so important with timing. Once he hits that back foot, he would try to release it, let the ball go, and that would get him in trouble from time to time. Instead of just going through his progressions, especially against good defensive fronts where they would get pressure very quickly, he would try to speed up the timing of things, and that would lead to these inaccurate passes versus the Niners, versus the Chargers, and him trying to just force these things into tight windows when it was unnecessary. And even though he did struggle versus the Niners, the Chargers, this was probably his best play in those two games. He gets the quarters look, and if you watch the Niners defense, they have a really fun scheme, some Fangio-esque concepts that they like to run. And they get very aggressive with their quarter safeties. They got Talanoa Hufanga right here. He sees the dig right here from this slot, and he breaks down on this. And Tua's just reading this the whole time, this safety, and knows he's gonna get threatened by him. And once he sees him stop gaining depth and about to break on this, he throws the deep post behind it. So really excellent play call from McDaniel, and then an accurate throw, throwing this away from the corner, knowing he's the only one, and this corner right over here is kind of supposed to replace and help over the top because he's not being threatened. This quarter safety has this route right here, breaks on that, so then he kind of has to get deep, replace it, but it's just too far. And it's just an excellent throw from Tua, leading him away. Doesn't overthrow it, doesn't really underthrow it. Maybe Tyreek slows down a tiny bit, but not really. But at least, even in Tua's worst games, he was still able to make some big-time throws. I think the Bears game was one of Tua's best games all season long. The Bears, the Lions, that sort of stretch of games versus the Browns was really special from Tua, definitely where he felt very comfortable right here. Now, pre-snap, you're thinking this is looking like man-to-man just based off the Bears pre-snap look, probably a cover one robber look, possibly cover two man, but this is just them disguising pre-snap, and they rotate into a cover two look post-snap. So once he sees this, he identifies that it's now become zone and that they've basically come down and bracketed Tyreek. And this is a 3rd and 5 situation, and he just stays patient and then throws this over the top to Sherfield. So just really nice job with his pre-snap diagnosis to post-snap diagnosis. Definitely an area where he improved on this. I think, when he was able to recognize things quickly, he made his decisions very quickly and was able to find open guys early and often in games. Now it's just something if he can become a little more consistent going through full field progressions throughout a game, because the offense didn't always ask him to do that. And when it did, he did it for the most part, but it's just something that he can still become better at versus higher level defenses that get pressure on him very quickly. I think one area where I really loved Tua this year was throwing the backside dig, especially in these empty looks. Right here, he comes off his first initial read where he just kind of wants to hit Tyreek, his number 3, just on a quick little stop route over the middle of the field, but the defensive tackle actually drops and takes away this throwing lane, and Tua recognizes it, so he snaps his eyes back to here, and then look where Waddle is in comparison with the linebacker, and when Tua is releasing this, he's still behind him, so he's coming to the backside dig, throwing with a bunch of anticipation, and then puts the ball low to protect Waddle. Just really good ball placement. So this was just a good play from a processing standpoint, and then accuracy, anticipation, working in the middle of the field. One of the best quarterbacks in the NFL at this specifically right there. Here's Tua hitting another backside dig, this time on a 3x1. But I really like this one, just him feeling the pressure We'll watch this. It's against cover 2 again, very similar look, but you can just see this from the end zone view. How he steps up, feels the pressure. He's got pretty good pocket presence, and he keeps his eyes down the field the whole time. Look at him read 51, and he just manipulates him with his eyes. He moves his shoulders to the right here slightly. Looks like he might bring this down to Gesicki, and then is able to throw this behind him, hit Waddle in behind it, and that's a 3rd and 10 situation. And I think Tua's numbers on 3rd down in the 4th quarter specifically were really good this season. I know he had the bad 4th quarter versus the Packers. That game I take kind of with a grain of salt because of the concussion. That's why I was more focusing on the Niners-Chargers games for his worst performances. The Packers game was actually a really good performance for the first half. The 3rd quarter, they weren't on the field too much, and then the 4th quarter, obviously, were where the 3 picks happened. But overall, on the season, I really liked what I saw from Tua. I think people just have super high expectations when it comes to quarterback play, but most quarterbacks in the NFL just aren't that good. I think Tua's, a solid top 10 to 12 guy, and you can definitely win with him, and I just don't see how the Dolphins can get a upgrade at that position right now. I just don't see how that is possible. This touchdown to Sherfield was so sick. One of my favorite ones of the year, just attacking this poor corner. Just look how much anticipation he throws this with, and he's just manipulating with his eyes, making it look like he wants to get 23 to sit on this, and he's just reading the leverage of 23, and he sees him slow down just enough, thinks that he might throw this down to the flat, the out to Tyreek on the number 2, but he just throws this up to the back corner of the end zone. An absolute dime. The manipulation, the confidence to even throw this ball when he did, like he was just betting on the corner, sitting on it, thinking that there's no way he's going to throw this ball. But Tua had a lot of balls this season, just throwing these up. Really high level play. The nuances of it, just give him a little slight look down to the flat like he's going to throw that out, and then throw with beautiful touch, beautiful accuracy to the back of the end zone to get this touchdown. Really love that decision from Tua. One of my favorite touchdowns he had this season. Here's one example of Tua processing again down in the red zone. Doesn't like what he sees. Working over here to the Waddle and Gesicki side first. The quick out to Waddle, the 7 route to Gesicki in the back of the end zone. 1-2, doesn't like it. Could have come back over here. Probably could have thrown this to Smythe, but he starts to feel the pressure, so he just gets out of it. So good job just creating off script. That's one area where I know people don't like Tua and don't think he's very good at, is just creating off script. But he's got enough of that ability. He's not super athletic, but he's got enough pocket presence and enough athleticism where he can do it at least a little bit. He's obviously never going to be a Mahomes, a Josh Allen type where he's doing like the crazy plays. But he's got enough there where you got to be able to at least do this a little bit to create off script at the next level to be a successful NFL quarterback. And this was kind of similar to his Craycraft touchdown against the Ravens, which I'll show later on. Houston, Lovie Smith is the head coach this season. They love to run Tampa 2. That's what they're known for. Tua identifies they're in empty pre-snap, and they're like mugging the A-gap here with the linebacker, showing possible pressure. And once he sees 58, bail out to the trip side of the formation right here. Then recognize the 2 deep safety look. Knows that he's going to have Waddle over the middle of the field. He's just reading over here. Comes back to Waddle. Then sees this linebacker threatened here by Sherfield, and then throws with anticipation over the middle. Hits Waddle in stride. Coming in right behind where the deep Tampa 2 middle linebacker safety is. Excellent play call, too, to beat this perfectly. Like everything. They had the number 3 or number 2 over here, Gesicki, carrying the seam, which 58 then had to gain a lot of extra vertical depth to attack the middle of the field. He could throw it to Gesicki, but he just recognizes 58 go to this side, so he throws it the backside dig again to Waddle. Love those backside digs that they've been hitting all of the season long. Tua loved seeing cover 1 pre-snap because he always took that backside vertical shot to Hill, or if it was Waddle. But right here, he sees the man-to-man look. He sees press to the backside, middle of the field safety. He's taking this every day of the week. He's going to start off looking to this side just to hold the middle of the field safety, allow Tyreek Hill to get over the top, and then throws with nice touch. Very good ball placement, accuracy to get this over the top. He was taking this all season long. He loved to take it all season long. But yeah, just really nice play there from Tua. Just a fun player to watch. That's why I'm a big fan of watching his game. He's a good QB when it comes to, seeing things pre-snap, being very aggressive. Like this offense got way worse explosively. Like they did not tack down the field like the same way they would do with Tua at quarterback. Here's Tua working off script again. They get the instant pressure up the middle. He spins out of it. He can create off script. Wouldn't say it's his biggest strength. Obviously, it's better when he's on his timing and everything. But he's got a little sauce to his game too, for sure. Like, you don't expect to see this too much from Tua. But when you're like, usually he hits his back foot and that ball's released. So he doesn't get that many opportunities to really, work off script like this. But he showed that he was capable of it. It's nice to see this because you got to be able to do this at the next level to have some success.